The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, listener. You're welcome to Leadership Podcast. It is yet another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, as usual, with me here in the studio, our in-house analyst, we have Paul Agbo.
So it's good to be here.
And Silas Ezegu. You are all welcome to this program. Before we go into the big issue of the day, I'll appeal to you, Avia, to endeavor to send us your feedback, because your comments on most of the issues being trashed here have gone a long way to set the agenda for robust discussion and interrogation as we take the big issue of the day. Well, for the big issue of the day, it is the assault on Nigerian diplomat in Indonesia and matters arising. Recently, a trending video showed which went viral on the social media, showed some immigration officers assaulting a Nigerian diplomat in Jakarta, the Indonesian capital. The diplomat, who was apparently in pain, while the unyielding Indonesian immigration officers pinned his head to the seat of his car, was heard shouting, "I can't breathe." Confirming the incident, the Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, said when the ministry saw the video on the social media, it quickly contacted the Nigerian ambassador to Indonesia, Usman Oga, for explanation. And of course, the Nigerian envoy confirmed that the video was indeed of a Nigerian diplomat in that country, noting that the illegal action took place during a roundup by the Indonesian immigration officials searching for illegal migrants to that country. Following the sad development, the federal government announced the recall of the Nigerian's ambassador to the Asian country, Oga. The Minister of Foreign Affairs who announced his recall, said he was recalled for consultations and that the federal government will review the bilateral relations between Nigeria and that country. Well, before we go into looking at the matters, the issues involved in this sad development, let's just quickly have a look at that video.
Hey! Hey! Mau mati bentar keluar ya. Manik. Masa takut kita lawan kita aja. Manik. Ambil handphone langsung.
Well, you can see that for yourself. Once what went viral on the social media, and certain people, when that video came up on the social media and was trending, most Nigerians say it was another mischievous kind of move. At least it's gonna confirm that was a Nigerian diplomat being manhandled by Indonesian immigration officials. This is one among many instances where Nigerians have been so maltreated. In Ghana, our traders there are facing similar situations from people of that country. And of course, in South Africa, you all know what xenophobia has caused. Nigerians are always the target of xenophobic attack in South Africa. Why are Nigerians always maltreated abroad in this way? Paul, let's start with you.
Basically, what happened in the southeast nation of Indonesia it's really, for me, it's heartbreaking. because that man, Abrahman Ibrahim, being assaulted by the immigration officer, is a representative of the Nigerian president. The Nigerian embassy in Jakarta is an extension of Nigeria's presidential villa, Aso Rock, in that nation. So, under the diplomatic norms, rules, and convention, especially the Vienna Convention, no nation has a right to assault the representative of another nation's president, another nation's president's representative. So it's a clear violation of that law. And Nigeria, I love the way the Nigerian government reacted, because some of these nations, although we have cordial diplomatic relations with them, have taken Nigeria and Nigerians for granted. The immigration official probably hastily concluded that it is one of these usual migrants
in that country,
and decided to pounce on him, apparently to score cheap points before his bosses, that he was able to pin down an illegal migrant in Indonesia, unfortunately. But even though you are going after illegal migrants, is that the way to treat a human being? There are decent ways of arresting individuals, arresting people. You don't treat people as if they're animals. And you know, Indonesia has a history of racism. I'm sorry to use that word, but if you look at what has been happening to the Papuans, they are more of like African descent. They are the least developed part of Indonesia. The Indonesians they have this hatred for them, and that is why they've been pushing for self-determination for a very long time, although unsuccessful. Back to the matter. How do you treat a diplomatic staff? If even though you find it wanting one way, or he has fouled the law of the nation, you write. You write to the embassy, to the ambassador. The ambassador will relate the message to his boss in Abuja. And if the nation insists, if the host country insists that, look, this man has offended our law, is to declare him personal non grata and send him back home. Not pouncing on the representative of President Muhammad Buhari in Jakarta.
in a strange land.
It's not a strange land, because we have diplomatic relations with them. And the immigration officer forgot that we have very good bilateral trade relations with Indonesia. So you don't treat diplomats that way.
Well,
it's really appalling.
Okay. I agree with you, Paul, because when you even raise the issue that even if he had committed anything, at the end of the day, how would anybody say immigration officers of a country who can not identify a diplomat of another country? Because some Nigerians
There are decent ways. First of all, ask for ID.
Some Nigerians of the opinion that the Nigerian government has always presented our citizens as worthless before other countries, and that is why we are being disrespected across the world.
Okay.
Is it possible?
Well, I'll come in by starting from the point that a lot of people are saying possibly those immigration officers didn't know the diplomat. And Paul has rightly said that even if was a diplomat or not, or whether they committed an offense, I don't need to treat him decently like that. You know, there are decent ways to approach people. And then, before I come to that question, what has happened to the man reminds me of what happened to George Floyd in the US. The same way they pinned him down until he died. George lasted 9 minutes or 11. This one lasted for 5 minutes. And the man was actually for 5 seconds. And it was actually, in fact, the man thought he was going to die. So he was screaming like, with all the energy he had. And he didn't even say, let us pause and find out. Let me talk to the man. The man is not a small man. He's not a young boy that can say, okay, if you wanted to run away, I'd run those guys, those young guys. So there's a hint of disdain, racism, disdain that comes with racism and the superiority complex which is put on that man. And I don't think that if they had a white person in that car, even if they suspect him of anything, they will approach him that innocent man. They will not do that. Okay. So coming to how they present Nigerians abroad, it's unfortunate too that it's where you treat yourself that people treat you. Okay. The world is a global village now. There's nothing that happens everywhere in the world that is hidden. People know whatever happened in Nigeria, if they want to know, and so on. So, and when you have some political leaders in Nigeria, right from the top, going abroad and saying Nigerians are lazy, Nigerians are lazy, and all those kind of things, and saying, making some, and even some ministers and that, and the aides and co, talking down on some prominent Nigerians who have, for just airing an opinion or saying that some things are happening and not happening the way they should happen. In that way, you are selling yourself cheap to the world. You understand? In fact, what that means a foreign policy of a country is also its domestic policy. So that means that whatever happens in the country has the way bearing on how you are perceived outside. So if they read every day about Nigerians treating Nigerians in a bad way, they too will be first look at these people that even at all they don't let themselves, they don't take themselves well. So why should we treat them so well in Nigeria, in their own country? So they can go on that. But if, for instance, we take pride in ourselves and find a way and respect ourselves and defend ourselves and take opportunity, now we say no, these people, if I take this guy like this, his country will rise up and defend it. So it will not even come to their mind. So that's why it's important how you present yourself to the world. And how can you present yourself to the world in a different way? The way you present yourself and so on. In Nigeria, you know how, when the government had said to take on the public, how has all ended. Everybody saw what with the NSAS movement and other times that Nigeria have reason to call for one thing or another, and how those in the power have always treated with that kind of disdain, as if there were more Nigerians than Nigeria. So all these things are part of the whole gamut that comes to the way that the international will see you and they treat you. So maybe this will teach us some kind of lesson.
Well, so many Nigerians have always said it has to do with image projection, because Nigeria has been too indifferent towards the way it has been presented, even before certain persons in their own country. For instance, where the conversation in Britain leaked that Nigeria was being described as a fantastically corrupt country. Nigeria didn't send a strong message or a kind of condemnation to say to face those who say it and say, "Man, you are wrong," and I dare you to say there was no serious statement.
People go to say we are shithole.
To the contrary, and then when Donald Trump he said shithole country, you didn't see anything from Nigerian government condemning it or attacking the former US president. Those are the things most Nigerians feel contribute in making us have bad image. Because, for instance, now those immigration officials in Indonesia would have said, yes, we know this. He's one of those useless diplomats from that shithole country or from that fantastically corrupt country. They can do what they like because they know that Nigeria will not take any reasonable action. Well, don't you think so, Paul?
Well, I don't entirely agree to that. Our foreign representatives and the government, they've done quite a while when it comes to diplomatic relations and actions, usually tipped for tat. But like we said earlier on, the world is a global village, and the world sees us clearly how we treat our own citizens back at home, the way we treat ourselves, and they have representatives based here in Nigeria, and they receive intelligence reports on a daily basis, just the way our own intelligence agencies
feed them with information of the happenings.
Especially the NIA. Every day they submit report back home. And part of their reports, they will tell you that look, XYZ number of criminals were arrested in Abuja. So XYZ were kidnapped. And this is how the authority reacted and things like that.
How did they react?
And what they didn't do. So they get all this report on a daily basis, and these are part of the diplomatic cables that foreign mission staff send back home. It helps them to plan, also help them to shape their foreign policy towards a particular nation. But the Nigerian state, you cannot totally carpet them on this, on the way they relate to other nations. But the Southeast Asia, there is this general belief in Asia, especially in Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, and the rest of them, about the way Nigerians do business. They believe that a lot of us out there go after drugs. So probably that might be the mindset of those immigration officers. And instead of, they were not interested in knowing or identifying the man. They believe that it's one of those drugs.
As far as it's in Nigeria.
So as far as it's even
A black man.
a black man.
A black man.
But if that man has spoken with an American accent, they would have cautioned themselves. But they discovered that, look, this man must have come from Africa and probably is a Nigerian. So maybe he's telling us lie. Let us deal with him. And they wanted to make a shine out of what they were doing by now recording themselves, not knowing that it will boomerang.
Yes.
It is their greatest undoing.
Yes.
And the way I think the Indonesian government must have been shocked the way the Nigerian government reacted. I was very, very impressed with the way the Ministry of Foreign Affairs reacted. First and foremost, when the division immigration authorities here tried to apologize, no, the Nigerian government did not accept that. They had to recall her ambassador in Jakarta and invited the Indonesian ambassador for talk. And that is the best way a government can react. That is the best way. But the Indonesian government also, they realize, I learned that they officially apologize. They realize that, look, they have so much business interest in Nigeria. If you recall, in Indonesia, about 16 companies are currently operating in Nigeria, belonging to Indonesia. And one of them is in Diplomat, the foremost fertilizer company, and the popular Indomie that everybody eats in Nigeria. Yeah. So they know the implication. That look, if Nigerians turn against them, you can imagine Nigerians say, we are not going to consume Indomie as a noodle.
Even nationalized.
You know what it means. Mm-hmm. Forgetting the role they played during the dark days of the COVID-19. We know that Indomie has an easy made,
easy to make food.
Fast food really help the millions of Nigerians. But they know that if Nigerians turn their back to that particular product, even their fertilizer, it will have big impact on their own economy, because this company return money back to the Indonesian economy. So they have to be quick in mending these broken fences. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, let's just quickly take a short break. We will be back in a moment.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Welcome back to Leadership Podcast. It is the big issue. And of course, the issue of the day is borders on the maltreatment of a Nigerian diplomat by Indonesian immigration officials in that country. So, as we were talking, just like Paul rightly said, most Nigerians too have condemned it, saying that it's a violation of the Vienna Convention. Specifically, they said what that country's officials have done against the Nigerian Foreign Service officer is antithetical to the letter and spirit of the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic and Consular Rules of 1961, which states expressly that the person of a diplomat is inviolable. So what's the implication of such diplomatic breach, if I may ask?
Well, when it comes to the terrain of diplomacy, they know how to catch their voice and find language. Even when you are throwing a punch, you make it sound as if they're just caressing you, okay? But behind the issues, they look at it and see where those breaches have been made and what corrections or if there are any kind of punitive measures that will come in. If they are not, they will just look at it and find out how these countries can go ahead to replace such relationship if they think it is in their best interest of doing. But from what I'm seeing there is that Indonesia will be careful going forward in how to treat not just Nigerian diplomatic officials, the Nigerians in general, going forward, because the country, like Paul said, actually brought out this red eye. This and they feel an apology and invited our own one back and also invited them. And they know that whatever has went through the back doors must have been serious talking. Okay. And then they will see how, I'm sure that Nigeria will give them some few conditions how to carry on with these kind of relationships. And if there are also, there's also opportunity that if there are other areas in which Nigeria was not feeling comfortable with relations we have with them, this is also opportunity for them to bring it forward and say, okay, let's see this area and this area, we can put quiet, but it's not as if we don't know that they're happening. So that they will take all these issues on the table and try to get, when it comes to the foreign affairs, that's what it's about getting advantage for our own country. And if it gives an advantage for Nigeria to use it to also make some other demands about the interests of Nigeria and Nigerians' needs, I'm sure that the foreign affairs officials that are going to go for that meeting will not hesitate to put those things forward.
Well, the recall of the ambassador to many Nigerians is a flowery way of just merely registering dissatisfaction for such action. So the idea is that beyond calling for a matching intervention of the Indonesian authorities, most Nigerians are saying that the federal government of Nigeria should take very severe measures, including severing diplomatic ties with that country.
No, I do not agree with that. In diplomatic circle, spats like this
do happen.
They do happen. You can't say the Americans should cut our diplomatic relations with Russia or China because they have trade issue and spy issue and things like that. Recall, there was this massive purging by both nations of their diplomatic staff, up to I think 800 or so on both sides. After the Trump administration accused the Russian government of hacking, and interfering, and many things like that, and plus Putin is also a man of action. He didn't waste time. He also sending Americans equal number back home. So it's normal. The international relation, you'll find the Committee of Nations flexing muscles. Is allowed. As it stands today, Nigeria the trade volume between Nigeria and Indonesia It's around the tune of about $2.1 billion. And let me surprise you, it favors the Nigerian state. Nigerian state earn more from her trade relations with Indonesia, nearly $500 million per annum. So for now, we cannot say we should sever relations with Indonesia on the basis of the assault on our diplomatic staff.
Some
We have
careless
yes,
officers.
we have expressed
Reckless.
yes our stand in strong terms. Recalling an envoy is not an easy thing for briefing. You only call him for briefing. He's going to brief the minister, and the minister will brief the president. So for now, it is not a good idea because we do business with Indonesia and it favors us. Indonesia imports a lot of oil from us, and we buy pharmaceutical products from them.
They also have companies there
And they
that
also have
employ
companies.
Nigerians.
But
In
sorry,
Nigeria.
sorry to cut you short. The reason why most Nigerians, including civil society organizations, are saying so is that they say for once, let's use this Indonesian development, this particular incident, as to set an example. The idea is that if you sever diplomatic ties, it will serve as deterrent for countries where Nigerians citizens are being treated with
Recall that we are a nation eager for foreign direct investment.
Yes.
FDI. So if you continue to behave like this in the international system,
Yes.
you scare investors. The way you treat other nations also matters in attracting investment to your country. It's not easy for a nation to apologize. If you recall, Turkey has refused to apologize to Armenia or Albania, one of those countries, over genocide. It's not easy to apologize. So apology from the state of Indonesia is good enough. It will help deter further any future acts like this. Next time when a policeman or an immigration official sees a Nigerian, even a black man, he will be conscious. I think the first approach is to wanting to
interview the person.
Yes, you interrogate in a very civilized manner. Yeah, in a very civilized manner. So I think they've learned their lesson. It's a hard one. It's a hard one, but I don't buy the idea of severing diplomatic relations.
Well,
I think do you bite your nose to start your face?
Yes, it took a long time to build this relationship.
Yes. We've had this relationship in 1960s. Okay, it's a long time relationship.
$2 billion. It's not good. $2 billion is not a small money to throw away.
And then anyway, I put earlier, some of this and they have the class may have also come from the way Nigerians control themselves.
Yes.
There, maybe not that diplomatic official, maybe the other Nigerian trader trying to hustle and trying to hustle and make it the way Nigerians do. You know, the complaint is over the world. Okay, some of them may breach the law, do things that. So even going to concert attacking Nigerians, sometimes it's come from some of that too, and even in Ghana, so some of the Nigerians also put up. You know, Nigerians are not quiet people. Whoever Nigerian is, you know that he's there. And plus, a lot of Nigerians grew up in a system where a lot of people feel that the country is a bit lawless. Lawless, eh? They also carry some of those. A lot of people do things in Nigeria, they get away with it.
Remember
some of them also carry it abroad and behave that way. They beat traffic, they do all manner of things in order to where they can make it and come back. So those things could also have sensitized, got the officials, not just the immigration police or the other, against Nigerians and blacks in general. And that's why some of them repatriated them, treating them harder than they should. But they feel like people come from Africa to come and spoil their country, and the increased crime rate in the area. So those things can be there.
One point I want to make here is that Indonesia and Nigeria share certain common features. Indonesia is the largest Muslim nation on earth, while Nigeria also holds similar status in Africa. So religiously, we have this strong bond as Muslim. Muslim dominated.
We have a lot of Muslims.
Yeah, we have a lot of Muslims. So we can't do that. We can't sever relationship because of this. But we have heard our anger, and it has been heard loud and clear. President Widodo is fully aware of what has happened. It's an image thing for the state of Indonesia. So, and he wouldn't want his staff, any of his staff, to go that route again. Yeah.
Well, just like you rightly say, that it is not enough to severe ties, diplomatic ties. But you see why Nigerians are coming out like this. The thinking is that this is one too many of such assaults on Nigerians. Good and fine. You see, the Indonesian government has tendered an apology. But you see, whenever issues come up like this, you understand that people are reacting from what would have happened in the past in South Africa during the xenophobic attack. You see, some Nigerians were killed, were beaten, their shops, the property destroyed.
The way the president.
Let's look at the way South Africa handled.
The way the present Minister of Foreign Affairs handled this matter, if they had reacted to the South African xenophobic attack on Nigerians, it would have been very heartwarming. If they had recalled the Nigerian ambassador, then asked the South African High Commissioner in Nigeria to leave. And they also asked some members of the High Commission to also leave. Then the South African government will know that, look, it's high time they leave this act and stop harassing fellow Africans, because I don't see Africans as a major problem in South Africa. I don't see it. It's just that you have a nation of people who want government to do everything for themselves. You can imagine people, your fellow black Africans coming from neighboring nations to come and take your job. It's because they are lazy. Nigerians in South Africa are not the one doing the best job. They are just a bunch of decent businessmen, although we have some few bad eggs trying to make a living. So they know where the problem is. But have you ever seen any black South Africans attacking the whites in South Africa? But you go to South Africa and see the difference between black community and the white community. They control the economy. The whites control the economy. It's not the Nigerians that control the economy. They are only just tapping from a few opportunities.
Yes.
So if the Nigerian government had reacted the way they reacted this time, when the xenophobic attack was very, very. I must commend the government.
Or in Ghana, just like in Ghana now, where our
we
traders are
we're playing the big brother Africa rule.
These are countries we play big brother. Imagine South Africa, Nigeria.
So this one now has sent
the forefront in the fight against
message all across the world that Nigerians are not people that you be taken for granted. You should respect them. They are decent people. They are out to do decent business, to do good business. We are not always drug barons. We are not always drug peddlers. No nation has got a smooth society. Most of the illegal arms being smuggled around the world are smuggled by people from highly developed nations.
Well, ironically, you hardly hear of such a thing in Nigeria, about maltreatment of people from other countries like this. Nigeria is a very liberal country.
You find Chinese people stealing rail tracks.
Yes.
They are involved in adulterated products, counterfeit, but the Nigerian government still treats them with respect. Have you ever seen a Chinese man being molested? We have a lot of them.
We Nigerians are very hospitable. Because here in Nigeria, you hear where some Chinese,
especially from
company,
Asia,
some
from
Chinese
Asia.
employers maltreating Nigerian employees.
Even the bandits.
Sexually assaulting them.
That's why I said at the beginning that sometimes the way you treat yourself, the other treat you. Somebody have lived here and discovered that the Nigerians treat themselves in a very poor way.
Poor way.
The Nigerian government also treat Nigerians. They shoot them, they kill them, they damn their rights, both their social rights, their legal rights, their all kinds of rights.
Yes.
So, and they see the army of youth that the country has not planned for. So they just take advantage of that and say, okay, what can you do? And they know that the police system will have a question of cash and carry. Even if they get in trouble, it's just to tip the police, and the police took the other way. So that's why, in the other plan, we needed to have an awakening of patriotism. Let's all begin to, be patriotic to Nigeria and Nigerians, so that, other people will not take us for granted, both here and abroad. So Nigerians are not likely to treat other people with disrespect and in such shabby manner, because Nigerians are welcoming to strangers, okay? To outsiders. Nigerians are liberal people.
Very
They can
hospitable
even
people.
very hospitable people. They can welcome people they don't know, keep them in their house, feed them, and all. We all have that, and we did it to all Africans when they were looking for fighting for independence. You know what they say? Africa it's not Nigeria that had that policy, which they are trying to revive now, reform and change now. That Africa is centerpiece on Nigeria's policy. No other country in the world. The foreign policy of the country is determined by its national interest.
Yes, I think that
But that when we said Africa first,
that policy,
before our own interest. That line for a long time.
Mm.
So now they are trying to adjust it, to suit the challenges of the moment.
I think that policy was adopted by Nigeria because Nigeria saw itself as the big brother in Africa. The most populous country in
That was
Africa.
in the
But that
70s.
But it lasted too
And
long.
in order to demonstrate the big brothership, the country goes all its way to do what it can. Imagine,
And
remember
the
the apartheid in South Africa, Nigeria,
apartheid.
and then some other countries like Liberia where there is war.
Sierra Leone.
Our troops are the
We
ones
have,
always.
we have to restore
Remember,
peace,
yes.
and the contract
Remember ECOMOG.
went the Chinese way.
In a situation where some gestures are not
So
returned by
some of
these
them
countries,
really-
we play big brother too. What do you
If it's because we've not played our cards well, if you look at Americans and co, when they go into a country, they will fight, but they're also looking for the economic part of it. They want to cover their own. That's what is our interest in this thing. You are helping, but you also have to bring your interest along. When we went to Liberia, how did we carry our engineering companies around? The country is being destroyed, by war. The country has to be rebuilt, and some of this money may be coming from international system. How do we play position ourselves? Look, we are doing this thing. Any negotiate. There's any construction that will be coming. Nigeria will take 40% of the construction work. By that time, you're creating value for Nigerian companies, creating jobs for Nigerian companies, and all that. So I think that just like we did with TAC and Co, we give our things free without looking for a return on the country. And that's why I've always also complained about how Nigerians train Nigerians, give them scholarship, they will go abroad, study, and they just come back to Nigeria and carry their bag and go. All the training we give them, all the support, all the wasted. They just go to work for other countries. Nigeria will be the loser. So we need to review some of these things and put our national interest above everything else.
Well, okay, viewer, that is the much we can take for today's edition of The Big Issue. Join us same time tomorrow for another wonderful session of this program. I would always like to thank our in-house analysts who have actually done a lot to address this particular issue and interrogate it, analyze it the way it is. Thank you, Paul. It was nice having you in the studio and silence.
Thank you.
And of course, our viewer, I thank you for actually sparing your time watching and listening to this program. It's going to be another wonderful moment tomorrow. Goodbye.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.